Ryan, one of the most discouraging things for me about solar systems is the rack that you put the panels on will cost you more than the panels. Now, isn't that a shame? So what do you reckon an old pipe one like me does? I built my own. Built my own. All they have to do is hold the panels up there so the sun can hit them. God doesn't care how you do that as long as you get it up there. But anyway, but yeah, we can proceed and we'll go back to the front and start all over.
You need me to run? Oh, you got it.
Huh?
I could click through there if you
want. Oh,
wanted,
no, that's all. What this is about is about 15 years ago, they asked us to write a water handbook, and we did. But the university, when you get something that's 10, 15 years old, they think it needs to be reviewed and renewed. And so we got a SARE grant. Can you believe that? A SARE grant to redo this water handbook. I'm disappointed that Carrie Ebert is not here. Carrie works out of down at the.
She's got a booth downstairs.
She does?
Yeah,
I haven't seen her. She funded our grant, well, through North Central, but it was a grant to write. This was written by Carol. Any of you know Carol? She was the one that was the head of our committee. But the rest of us, watershed specialists like myself, a couple ag engineers and retired ag engineers and things like that is who wrote on this, okay? But I didn't do this myself, but that's who was involved in it. And what our objective was to help change the behavior of the livestock from this kind of stuff. Because as water quality people, we want to change that. And the reason for that is because you guys like to drink clean water. And all the water out of the creeks and things like that in eastern Kansas, for sure, goes to either a lake or a stream that goes by where they pick up the municipal water and clean it up and put it in the pipes. And the research says that we will build a tank in a pasture that's got a stream or a pond. You can use pond in the same. 80% of the drinking will go to the tank. What that tells me is that if I could get 100% of the pastures with waters in it, that's as good as getting 80% of the streams fenced off. And cowboys don't like to talk about fencing creeks. So that's the reason that I work on alternate water supplies and things of that nature. Look at that, 80% of the drinking, the loafing is 60% gone. Look at that, it gets rid of more than half the nitrogen, nearly all the phosphorus disappears because we don't get poop. So what have you guys been doing the last month? Did you guys see any of this in the last month? How many of you guys are farmers who got cows? Yeah. Ed, you may have seen some of this, or people looking for holes in the creek or openings of the creek, or even some of them were chopping ice. And that is not a fun process. I was actually using tanks like these to keep cattle away from the creeks. That's a Cobet, the other one's a tire water. Now this is a Bowman tank, and I'll talk about them a little bit different, and how we keep some of them open in the summertime. But anyway, this is you've heard people talk about these big tire tanks, giant tire tanks. How would you like to walk up to that every day in the winter? That's a nightmare. You don't do it. I had a guy that put in about 15 of those. I helped him on most of them. And his employees about shot him after the first winter. And so we actually put a small tire tank off to the side and let the big ones just freeze up in the winter, and we kept almost freeze. Or they froze, but not nearly as bad. Okay. But anyway, this handbook has got an awful, I know it's small type and small writing there, but you've got a copy on your phone. This is the table of contents on it, and it's got lots of things in it. And the thing is, most of it is organized by the source of water. Now, there's some information in there on pipes and how we do different things, pumps, solar pump, and things like that. And we'll talk about all those before we get in. The way prices are now, we couldn't put a price on things. We just put more dollar signs on those things that are more expensive. And that's how we address some of that. And that's in there. But drilled wells, my God, those people that have drilled wells are lucky. In eastern Kansas, we don't have good drilled wells. You've got two reliable water supplies. It's clean. In the wintertime, it's warm. And you can pump that water up and actually melt the ice in the top of your tank. I mean, it's that kind of stuff. And we talk about that and some of the advantages and some of the disadvantages, you know, no evaporation, things like that. Disadvantages, sometimes they don't do very well in the long droughts. Some of them go dry on you in the drought. But we talk about the advantages and disadvantages of them, how to put them in. We were talking about pitless adapter. Pitless adapter is a piece that goes in the sidewall. Soil level would be up here. But a pitless adapter comes in right there. That makes you, and that's so that you can pull the pump out of the well without having to break the pipe. It's a $35 connection, but it works well. We talk about lots of different pumps in there, everything from AC pumps. You guys that have wells and AC pumps are even in better shape because you can have water whenever you want. It'll even pump at night. You can use those small Ritchie waters and things like that. Cattle come drink at 7 o'clock in the evening. It refills, no problem. Those that have solar pumps, what do you think? They can't use one of those because if they drink in it, it'll be dry until 9 o'clock in the morning. Well, maybe not even then because it may not be sunshiny at 9 o'clock in the morning. But anyway, windmills. My favorite is gravity flow from ponds and things like that. Or that's where I spent a lot of my time. I'm in eastern Kansas. We've got more ponds and not wells. And so I spend a lot of my time working with gravity flow systems. So those people that have electric pumps, they'll be pumping 40, 50, 60 pounds of pressure. Our gravity flow systems are down to 2 pounds of pressure. But you use bigger pipe and it works just as well. We'll talk about all those. Spring developments is another thing. We don't have many springs in Kansas. I mean, eastern Kansas, but in the Flint Hills, there's a number of springs. And we talk about developing a spring. And it's a process of, you know, there's a wet spot up here on the hill, and we actually collect the water from up in that wet spot, pipe it down to a tank. There's one of my partners. He's talking about Wilbur, you know Wilbur, you're probably. He's talking about a spring tank there. There's another view of a spring tank.
Great one.
Huh?
Great.
Spring, yeah, our spring tank. The other thing, here again, they're warm sources of water, and a spring, if it's truly a spring, it's just gonna flow a gallon a minute, 2 gallon a minute, whatever, 5 gallon a minute into the tank, and then we catch the overflow and run it back and put it in the stream where it would normally go. I mean, that's most beautiful. I mean, the whole tank will be free of ice. I mean, even on a 0 day. Spring development, but you gotta have a spring. Source of water is the key to it. I deal with an awful lot of ponds. And the problem is getting water out of these ponds. You know, the first thing that happens to a pond is cows walk in, right? What happens when a cow walks in a pond?
That's so good.
It just keeps getting shallower and shallower and shallower. And the worst thing that happens is then she walks on the dam and it gets shorter and shorter. And eventually the water will go over the top of the dam and wash out your old pond, and you got a mess. And so one of the things that I've worked with was helping guys put lines through ponds. And part of the reason that I've got an hour is hopefully I can get through this part and we can show you some videos of doing some of these things. I hope to show you that as we get to the end. And what we actually do is we get this line in, and we can't put it way down here because it's be too deep but we can put a line through a pond that is full of water and not lose more than 100 gallons of water. And we can do it. We've done it many and many a time. And I get leery of saying, I'll come help you. The situation is you got to have good clay soils or I won't do it because you have to be able to seal that pond back up. But we can do it. And what we're trying to do is get the line back here to where we can put a valve so we can shut that line off and bring it back here to where we can put our tire tank or our behind the pond tanks of whatever nature we use back there. And we'll work on that. There's how we actually put that line through a pond. We actually do it with an excavator. Some of them have 2-foot buckets. Some of them have 3-foot wide buckets. Oh, it scares you to take a 3-foot wide bucket to the pond dam. But we do it. The actual instructions are in that book. They're actually there. I think.
Do you have that handout?
Huh?
We got that handout.
And yeah, most of you got the handout. If you haven't, it's one of the handouts that's in there. The instructions I wrote on that. It's deep out there. The other thing is you got to do some shooting elevations. Got to make sure you got enough elevation to fall to get that 2 pounds of pressure, I was talking about. So you actually shoot the spillway, the spillway, the primary spillway. I shot what the current depth was. And then you shoot the elevation where the tank is going to be. And I want 6 foot of elevation difference. And that will give me over 2 pounds of pressure. 1 pound of pressure will push water 2.3 feet. So, and so, look at that. What did I say? It's got 6 right here. Currently, it's down 2 foot, but it's still got 5.9. So we were happy about it. And in fact, the video that we show was actually in this pond. Streams is another thing. We'll come back to ponds and we'll look at that a little bit later. Let me get through these. Streams is another thing. How you get water out of a stream? How do you water cattle from a stream without just letting them have full access to it? Huh?
Fence off a little bit.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I found this was from, I can't remember, North Dakota. And this is actually, we have done them with gravelled area, made of lanes across, just like a truck crossing or something like that, and just fence it off and just give them access to that little bit. You know what these are? Hog slats. Hog barn slats. If I ever do it again, I am gonna go find me some old hog barn slats. I like the looks of that because keeping those crossings solid is a problem. When you put that in, you do not raise or change the bottom of the stream bed. If you get to change the bottom of the stream bed, you got to get 404 permits and things of that nature. Just maintain the same bottom of the stream bed, and you can do it on your own. The state doesn't care. Another thing you can do is put in a wet well. A wet well is a version of putting in a culvert or some well over to the side of the stream, and then we connect it with a pipe or a gravel core. It can be gravel either way, so that we bring the water over there, and then we can put our pump in here, a solar pump or whatever kind of a pump in that with a pitless adapter, so we can get our pump in and out of it without having to go in the creek. If you get a flood, the creek would mess up your pump, even if you pump directly in the creek. In this, you got a lid on it. The water will go across it. Your pump will still be down in the water and being fine. But that's a wet well. And I'll actually show you some pictures of that going in if we get time. There we are. We're setting one right there. See the culvert tube? That was a 9-foot culvert tube. So we had a 8-foot hole there. And here's the trench he made going on out to the stream. You see the stream out there. Hauling water, that's got to be the most expensive process. Have you ever seen someone hauling water that had a good truck? If you haul water with that truck, it will not be a good truck very long, because water is so heavy and we overload it with the water and things. But anyway, yeah. But if you think about using good equipment, that guy is just filling the tank and gonna go on or come back and do it however often. Here's a better situation. These guys put actually I think it's a 10,000 gallon storage there. And he'd come along with these semi, pump it full, and it gravity flows to a tank, to a valve like this. So it doesn't have 40 pounds of pressure, but 10 foot would have 4 pounds of pressure, and keep that thing going. And then he can come back maybe in a week and refill it. There's one that we use, and we use just a simple Roberts float there, and that's actually sitting down in there. It's got a big gear off of a heavy equipment down in there that's fastened to, so it'll stand there without falling over or anything. And it's just got a hose connected to the tank, and on that truck we had two 250 gallon or 1,500 gallon tanks.
So cows would mess with that just for the hell of it?
Probably.
Ernie, I mean, yeah, can't mess with it just for the hell of it. In fact, do you see how short this is? You see how short that is? You ever seen one that short before? No, it didn't used to be that short. It used to be long like this, like everybody else's. They broke it off, and I had to fix it. And so I made it real short. And it works well. Yeah, you have to tuck it back the best you can. Yeah, they'll mess with them sometimes, but it's designed, and they don't bother it anymore. Not bad. Solar. How many use solar? Solar's good power. I like solar. In fact, we pump from ponds with solar more than we pump from wells in eastern Kansas because we don't have wells. But solar works very well. But this was the one of the original demonstrators I used. Notice what it's setting on?
Old salt truck.
Huh?
Old salt truck.
Yeah, it's mineral feeder. Old mineral feeder, you know. And I drug that around in my state truck a lot of years and a lot of places because I could go throw that on an asphalt driveway, set it on top, off we go. Oh, here, let me go back here. I thought I had a picture of the pump and a picture of the controller. And in your handouts under solar, it's this system, and that's all priced in there. Over the past 15 years, solar pump prices have not changed. I mean, I'm sorry, the package hasn't changed. Pumps have gotten more expensive. They're twice as expensive as they were when I started. But solar panels have come down, and the solar panels cost $5 a watt when I started. Now you get them for less than $1. And there's a trailer that I used to haul around with me sometimes. I could take that and just unhook it, leave it at a guy's farm and connect up. You know, we had to put a panel around it somehow so that the cattle don't mess with our equipment. But here's a nice solar system. Why does he have that big tank there? Any idea?
So it can pump during the daytime and build up for when the sun ain't shining.
That's right. The other thing is so it can pump today because it may not be sunshine tomorrow or the next day. NRCS says we need to have 3 days worth of water. And I feel with the same plan. You got to have 3 days worth of water. Now you can have it in the form of a battery if you want, but you got to have 3 days worth of water. You can have it all in one big tank. One of those 15-foot tanks will hold 1,500 gallons. 1,500 gallon, but you know, if you only have 30 head of cattle, that lasts a couple. Okay, but that's what that's about. Simple patterns of how the pump and everything goes together. You were talking about your pump system. It pumps up and goes directly to the tank, has a valve up there and shuts it off. People put a weep hole in this so that the water drains back below ground, below freezing level during the winter time. And so it'll, when it needs water, it pumps water and doesn't freeze up. And it works well. And I use this for that's a spare tire. Spare tire with the pump side to the bottom of it. If I use the pipe. The pipe is 2-inch pipe. You put 2 pieces on there, so you're 40 feet out there, and you can leave 6 or 8 feet on the side, something like that, and that'll hold it out there away. There's a diaphragm. Here is a solar pump, a diaphragm pump. That one will cost you $900. My sun pump. It'll pump 3 gallons a minute, maybe a little bit more. This is you buy on internet $450. It'll only pump 2 gallons. Let me see here. Here, 2 gallons. And you say, God, are these gonna last? I tell you, it costs $150. If you don't trust it, get another one. Buy your replacement. Have it right there for you, because that way you've got a pump. They performed okay. They really have. I know one guy that claims he burned one out, but works well. That one will push 270 feet tall. That one will push about 100. So, but most wells are more than 100 feet tall or deep. There it is. Some are 12 volt, some are 24 volt. The 12 volt are rotational great because they can use battery pump on those cloudy days or even up or whatever water to pump. Here's probably the most fancy pump. It's a helical pump. That means it rolls like it's got a wall, will push water out 400 feet. And it'll push 7 gallons a minute, 400 feet. The good thing about this is that you can unhook it from the solar panels, connect it up to 110, and it doesn't care. It's got all the smarts in here somewhere. I say in there somewhere because it is welded. The motor is welded shut and you don't get in it. But it's one of the best. And it'll run you probably $1,500 just to buy it. We're going to talk about tire tanks. But when we're talking about tire tanks, we're talking about like that. Lots of forms. Most people think about giant tire tanks. In eastern Kansas, we had little use for 13-foot tanks. I mean, we don't have 200 head cow horses. Our pastures aren't that big. So that is a heavy scraper tire. That is the front tire off of a fertilizer spreader truck. The 4-foot tires on the front tires of spreader trucks. That is probably my favorite tire anymore to put in. They come in 25-inch deeps and 30-inch deeps. There's a combine tire, a 30.5 tire. And it in the tire tank publication that talks about those exact. But that's what the insides of them look like. For gravity flow systems, we actually use 1.5-inch pipe coming through the concrete. You see that right there. It's an 1.5-inch pipe coming through with the valve sitting on top of it, okay? And it's got to be that way to get us good flow for a small tank. You got to be able to refill it faster because you can't have a little gallon a minute flow or 2 gallon a minute flow because you got a small tank. Now, if you had a 13-foot tank, you can get by with a slow fill. But anyway, that's what. The other pipe in there is a drain pipe. That's so that we can pull the plug on it and drain it. That's just a cap on a piece of pipe. And so we can pull that out. One of the things that people get worried about is how are you gonna cut the tire? I mean, my wife can even tell you how to cut the tire. right?
Skilled labor,
Huh?
unskilled labor.
Put a little Dawn water in here, similar to what you use to check a tire for leaks or something like that. Doesn't take lots, a little Dawn water. And you spray that directly on, well, here. Oh. We'll get to that video a little later, I guess. Come on back here. Let me get back here. Got too many things I want to show you at the same time. But yeah, spray this right on the blade. One, it keeps it cool, but Ed, other thing it does, it lubricates it. And then there's a little trick to how to use your salt. And we don't use a skid steer or anything to pick up that piece out of it. Just cut it at fault. But these are the Cadillacs for having ice-free in the wintertime from gravity flow. These are these behind the pond type tanks. You see that little 1.5 by 2 foot opening in the front. Behind that, underground, is about a 4 foot by 2 foot wide opening. I mean, that is full of water. And it's all covered up. And that insulates that tank really well. And they stay as ice-free as anything I know of. There's one, you see it. But all this back here, there'd be about 4 foot back there. It's covered up. A lot of different kinds of these tanks. There, I had a demonstration with a number of them. There's a Cobat back there. Some of you guys have seen Cobat waters. They're those round ones that are. I think I'll show you a picture later. These behind the pond ones, that's I have it emptied down so that you could see the water flowing in out of them. And that's gravity flow. Got to have water coming in there pretty good though. That guy actually siphoned over the top of his pond instead of going through it. The trick is to siphon. A siphon will always break at the most inopportune time. So you got to know how to restart your siphon. What we use for him is a sump pump. Set the sump pump in the tank. Got to have some water in it. Had a connection to this pipe here. Pump backwards through it. Push the air out of the back into the pond. And you're ready to go again. The other thing is these super insulated tanks. I talked about Ritchie and Mirafat and Pride of the Farm, Polar Max. All these guys have good tanks. They're insulated, super insulated, but they require 2 to 3 days worth of volume. I mean, 2 to 3 fills worth a day of consumption. If you don't drink from those, they'll freeze up. They'll freeze up just like an ice chest. Now, it may take 2 or 3 days for that, but when it freezes up, you've got a melt, and it'll break the sides out of it. How are we doing on time?
Got about 20 minutes.
Okay, cool. If you have any questions about stuff, because part of the grant was to write the book. But the different part of the grant was they wanted me to make some videos. And so we made some videos, and I'm going to show you some of them. And you guys can look at these just as well. But there's some of the videos we made. That's all on tire tanks. One on winter water, one on wet wells, hardened surfaces. That's that rocky area around the tank and things like installing a line through a pond. They're all out there. And go to K-State K-Care. K-State K-Care. This is, got to get inside YouTube and search for K-State K-Care. Okay. And when you get there, you'll find there's a lot of videos, not lots, there's quite a few videos out there. But our livestock, like here's the one on winter watering, there's a wet well one, there's one on tire tank parts and things of that nature. There's one on cutting the tire, Carol. But here again, let me show you. Is that you hear good enough? But anyway, that's just cutting it. Let me go on and talk about video about getting the bottom tank ready. I put the drain in. I'll get part of it putting the drain in, but we do have to be careful. We want all the plumbing. We want all the plumbing so that it ends up being level with the top of the concrete. Well, we want the thread to all be close to concrete. And that's about all. If you've got all the threads above the concrete, you're in good shape. The concrete will fill right to that level, and that plug, you set it because you'll pull it to that coupler that's in the concrete. We meet fiber in our concrete. You've heard of fiber concrete. Construction people, we make the same thing, but I go a bag of fiber for $5 and it'll do 40 bags a sack. Fill that void down underneath that. Now that's not actual speeding.
I've had farmers that use that, the cat.
They can use midnight. There's actually for sheets of steel and they screw it down with lag screw. And there's other people that will put cement in there, ready mix, not ready mix, but bags of concrete and just put it in there and then add water to the top. I've never done it. It scares me. But anyway, and you get it work like that. And this, and we actually make a little more concrete put on top. But I want. Do you put a? Yeah, I put. When I get ready to do it, I put a bead of silicone on the outside, on the bead side, and I put silicone around the pipes, right around this, and then I take my finger and I rub it to smear it around. It doesn't have to be a pretty shaped bead. It has to be silicone around there because concrete doesn't stick to rubber. Not well, but that silicone sticks to rubber pretty good. And the concrete just smashes right into that. Can you imagine? It's got sand and gravel. So it's a good addition. This doesn't fall out. I've got some of those 4-foot tanks that I take to farm shows. I've done it for the same tank for a number of years. I just roll it in, and the worst thing is how you get it back into the truck and get it back out. When you get it out, it may bounce around and you lay it down, but I don't worry about it. But it's gonna hold water. It never failed me yet. So it's pretty amazing how that thing really works. But yes, we put silicone in. Okay, here's about wet grip. And this is that you can see the tree and the spring. I've got air in that. I don't know if you heard me say it. Air in that. Got my air off. I open it up. I have intake. Let the water up. It's late right bottom. Otherwise, I'd drag through, and then he starts the copper for me. It worked. My contractor said, never, never. 50 years ago. He said we talked about it, so never get it, never get it. Kind of fun. You can't get in it. Yeah, like he's building the copper dam here, and projecting, huh? Yeah, behind the copper dam, pumping that out because I crawled out in there. Oh, you'll see me in here. Now I'm there. We clean that out. Yep. And then I clean to make sure it's going downhill, not running uphill. I'll make that transition here. I can watch me. I get to digging fast. You guys got to, you got to work to keep up with a 70-year-old man.
70?
But anyway, you get the idea how that goes. And then after we get that, he digs out and we lay the pipe in and fill it all up.
So that first valve, is that just buried there?
Yeah. Once we get everything else going, I turn it on and we walk away from it.
Okay.
It'll stay open.
You know, provide it.
Oh, I could put a rise, be the one for the, but no, maybe I don't. I thought I had a piece of gasket fit pipe, but instead of glue fit pipe, it's a gasket. And I used to use a plug and a piece of gasket fit pipe, and we got ready to put it on. I would get in there and I'd work my plug loose, yank it out. Now I got water running right at my feet, and we stabbed the gasket pipe with the other end. We didn't have one in there, but it scares a lot of people when we get to do that. I did have one that I had to fight for about 30 minutes to get the gasket to go together, and we actually had to put ratchet straps on to pull it together. I mean, we had to take the time to do it because we got the pond opened up. But anyway, that works. It's amazing how well it works.
Herschel.
Yeah.
Unrelated to the pond piece, but on if you're pulling from a stream or you're drilling a well to pull from aquifer or alluvial aquifer, are there any KDA permits that people need to be considering?
No.
For livestock watering?
No.
Up to a certain.
As long as you don't pump more than 15 acre feet of water a year, and that's about enough for 1,000 head. What it pretty well matches up with going from state regulations to federal regulations. But if you stay less than 1,000 head watering out of that, you can pump that year after year after year. But Brian, thing that makes some of my cowboys mad is if they build a pond of their own and they pump more than 15 acre feet out of their own pond, they've got to pay Division of Water Resources for the water. And it costs about the same as your rural water board has to pay the lake to get the water. But, yeah, it's a little bit, but 15 acre feet's it. For irrigation people want to irrigate small pieces. As long as you less than 15 acre feet, you can pump out of it. You don't have to say nothing to no one. Now, you need to respect your neighbor, you know, and not run him dry. But 15 acre feet,
Which is a
pardon me?
15 acre feet. I don't know what that really
One
means.
acre.
An acre of ground, okay, an acre inch is about 27,000 gallons. Okay,
Uh-huh.
27 times 12 would be, it's
lot.
300 some thousand gallons
Wow, okay,
per acre foot.
okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of water.
Right.
Think about 1,000 head of cattle. If you're watering over 900 head of cattle, you might think about it.
Yeah, got it,
Until you get to a point like that,
yeah, got it.
okay?
That's
I want to
about
show,
time.
you
Good.
one last. You like that, boy? Anyway, for some of those Bowman waters that have a large concrete area out here and got the valves back here at one end of it, concrete tanks or something like that, they freeze up terribly. And most of them use water, wasting water to keep the valve and things like that. So we've tried lots of stuff, but we went to these bullseye nozzles. You see that little bitty fine stream? You can adjust that just like this. This is what this is a hose in spray.
Yeah,
You go to the hardware store and you can buy a bullseye nozzle, hose in spray. Okay? And it'll shoot that little fine stream. Or you can turn it off. Like about a week ago on those tanks that we had been running, when it quit freezing, I shut mine off. All I had to do was reach up in and shut it off. Now, once in a while, these will go bad on you. You know what you do?
take it off and put it in one.
You call the company
Okay. Gotcha.
and you tell them that it went bad and they'll send you a new liner. Now, you may have to pay for the postage.
Yeah,
They'll send you a new line. She actually sent me 20. I asked her for 15. She actually sent me 20. She made me send pictures
yeah,
of the different, you've got 15 of those? Show me pictures. So I had pictures from all kinds of places.
of course.
Like that picture, it got used, all kinds of things. But they'll send them to you, and yeah, it's a little mess to do it. But listen, these are the best because you can meter it down fine, and then you can shut it slowly on. Anyway,
And that's so that it doesn't freeze?
we waste water
Yeah. So.
underneath that valve where the float is, so we don't freeze the float to the wall. You ever had a wall one that'll freeze to the wall,
Okay,
or that'll freeze up? There's our people that helped me. I'm serious. Everybody helped me. It was a team.